Europe wins, Luxembourg wins, and we shouldn't be afraid of, if Europe gives us strong opportunities, we will use them, and that's why I'm not afraid of giving up unanimity, which has been discussed very much.
I have the pleasure to welcome in the studio Marc Engel, who is a member of the Luxembourg Social Party, or LSAP. Welcome.
Welcome, Jérôme. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. So, Mr. Engel has been a member of the Luxembourg Parliament from 2004 until 2019, a member of the European Parliament since 2019, and also the Vice President of the European Parliament since January 2023. So, first question, what are your priorities as a member of the European Parliament?
First of all, I really fight for a Europe that puts the human in the center of its action. And as a member of the European Parliament, I really fought for a strong, also social dimension of Europe, which is important to counterbalance also the very important economic dimension of the European Union. And I want also a more integrated market. And I think also under the impulsion of my political group, the group of the Socialists and Democrats, and also the European Commissioner Nicolas Schmit, the Luxembourgish Commissioner for Social Affairs, we've been very active in deepening this also social dimension of the European Union. We fought for minimum salaries in Europe, decent minimum salaries. We also came up with the child guarantee to fight child poverty, which is still a big problem in the European Union. And I would like to continue this fight for a more social, for a more just a union, also especially when it comes to artificial intelligence, where we need to also use the potential of artificial intelligence for the companies, for the enterprises, but on the other side, we need to protect the people, their private data, and also workers in a world where an artificial intelligence is used. It's important to protect them and to make sure that algorithms are transparent. And in this sense, I was also happy that we finally have a law to protect the platform workers, 32 million people who work on platforms, like the drivers from Uber or from Deliveroo, which are wonderful services. And it's good that we have this technology of the 21st century, but we cannot have this technology and a labor law from the 19th century. So we have to adapt that. And I think this is beneficial for the workers, but it's beneficial for the customers, and it's beneficial for the companies, for the economy. So this is something which I'm very, very engaged into. Then, of course, when you say social Europe, it's also about inclusion. And for example, I fought very hard for a European card for disability. We finally have a card for the 80 million people with disability in Europe, and this is important. And I would really like to continue to reinforce also the internal market. There was a very important report of former Italian Prime Minister Letta, which says that we need to use all the potentials of the single market. At its inception, when the single market was founded 30 years ago, energy, telecommunication, and finance was excluded, and I think we have to include it. And those who preach now of a Europe of the nations, well, that's a Europe of gold plating, a Europe of overregulation, because we will have 27, too many different regulations. And the single market, we should speed up the harmonization, and we should speed up also mutual recognition. And this will make it much easier for business and for small, certainly also for small and medium enterprises who do not have the chances to have lawyers to study the 27 different legislations, but one European legislation. So the single market, we should just call it the European market. This is something I think is very important.
So you were talking about the Letta report. Some people, of course, take it as an opportunity for Luxembourg. I'm thinking about insurance, who need to be able to sell their product easily all over the market. But other players in Luxembourg consider it as a threat because the financial industry has some specificities. Are you not afraid that maybe Luxembourg might lose if everything becomes globalized?
I do not think. I have a big trust in the Luxembourg economy, especially in the financial center, financial services industry. They've proven over the last 2 decades how innovative they are, on how strong they are, on how resilient they are. I remember the discussions. The same question was asked when the bank secret was when there was no more bank secret abolished. Yes, and then as this is the end of the Luxembourgish financial industry, when we are stronger as ever. So there is a fantastic potential here, and I tell you, if Europe wins, Luxembourg wins, and we shouldn't be afraid of. If Europe gives us strong opportunities, we will use them, and that's why I'm not afraid of. Also, I'm not afraid of giving up unanimity, which has been discussed very much
That's
in
a
this
big topic, yes.
In this. Because every country has its specificity and wants to keep a veto in here or there, and then we're blocking each other. We're blocking each other constantly. You see it how Mr. Orban blocks the advancements of Europe with this veto on different subjects. And I believe in a strong Europe, a Europe that makes big steps again, like 30 years ago when we created the single market, when we created the euro, when we did a lot of things to move on and to be strong, because the competition is not sleeping, and we shouldn't forget that. They're not sleeping in the US, they're not sleeping in China. So, and we're the smallest continent, we have the smallest population, so if we work together, we're strong, and we can also set standards, as we did with the Artificial Intelligence Act. We're the first ones to regulate that, and this does not mean that we create barriers, but we want a proper use of artificial intelligence, so it profits the medical sector, it profits all the sectors, but on the other hand, it also has to protect citizens and workers.
So two quick points here. First, about the resilience of the financial industry. You're absolutely right that after the end of the banking secrecy, if you look at the numbers, even in private banking, there's been massive growth. Yeah. I think there's been a shift from small clients with, let's say, less than €1 million to a much bigger client from all over the world. So that's indeed a very good sign for Luxembourg.
I tell you, a story like LuxLeaks is more detrimental for a financial center than giving up the unanimity. And this is also, the reputation is very important. And we have a good reputation, and we have been doing a lot of efforts, especially the last government during 10 years. Luxembourg doesn't figure on any grey or blacklist anymore. And this is the way to go, and tell we're good, we're in the middle of Europe, we are multilingual, we have a lot of potential, and we have political stability here in Luxembourg. And this is also why I fight for a more social Europe and a more democratic Europe, because stability also in Europe is good. If we have the far right taking over Europe, there will be no political stability, and then investors will probably be not so eager to invest in Luxembourg and in Europe. So that's why defending our values, defending our democracy is also defending our economy, our well-being, and our way of living here in Europe. And that's something also which we should think about during these elections.
Maybe one point about AI, you mentioned it. There's been a fantastic report from the Court of Auditors, maybe you've seen it, it was 15 days ago, where we clearly see the timeline of Europe. You know, there's been two plans, I think one in 2017, another one in 2021. And then we see it's very slow, you know, it's a slow machine, and the time to implement it. You could see clearly that in 2022, China and America saw the massive potential in AI, and they multiplied their investment by multiple X. While Europe was just following this steady plan that was invented 6 years before, when AI was not a big thing. How do you reflect on that? Shall we just improve the speed of action of European decisions?
We should speed up investment. The capital market union has to be really now fulfilled. And let's not call it the capital market union. Citizens do not understand that. Bankers do understand that. But it's investment and savings unions which we should make. That the people who know that they have saved money, that they invested in Europe. We have wonderful technologies. We are the leader in technologies when it comes to climate technology, environmental technology. But then the production goes outside of the European Union. And that's where we have to change and make sure with investments that we keep that production here in Europe. Solar panels are the best example. Developed in Europe, European brains developed them. They are mainly produced in China now. So these mistakes we shouldn't do, we should learn out of them. the good research we have here, the good development we have here, we must make sure that we get the production here too, and that needs, of course, investment, and therefore the Capital Market Union, there is so much money on the savings accounts of normal citizens, and we should use that and explain that, work on financial literacy also. This is something very important, and I think when we reach these goals, we can strengthen our European economy. And as I said again, if Europe wins, Luxembourg wins. The 27 win.
And we know that the innovation is expensive, and you mentioned the quality of our innovation. We know that it also depends directly on the amount of money you're able to invest in. I like to remind everybody that China just landed on the on the dark side of the moon last week, and even collected some samples. So this is, I think, also a challenge for Europe. Yes, it's trying to keep the jobs here with the factories, but also having the money power to get some high-level innovation when we are competing against such giants. So maybe one point about the stake. We've seen Luxembourg as a campaign which is very Luxembourg-like. It's a nice conversation. But while at the same time in France, in Germany, in the east of Europe, it's a very polarized campaign. So what do you think is at stake during those elections for Europe?
Well, there's a lot at stake. I'm very worried if I see Madame von der Leyen going with Mrs. Meloni and telling that she could imagine a collaboration with these parties. And we should not forget that Madame Meloni comes from a post-fascist party, where in Italy thousands of people were marching through Rome with the fascist sign this spring. She did not say any word about that. She's never distanced her. In Spain, we have Vox, a post-Frankist party, and we have in France parties from the far right, and they want to destroy Europe from the inside. They want this Europe of the nations, where we will have 27 different regulations again, instead of having strong European regulations. And I think this is worth, and it's about our values, about democracy, and as I said, political stability is also very important for economic stability.
And don't you think that basically the accountability at EU level, we've seen some problems, as you know, about corruption at EU level. Don't you think the accountability is becoming a major topic for Europe? Because if it's not perfect, then of course it makes the game of extreme parties.
Accountability, I think Europe has delivered. During COVID, we delivered a lot. We make sure that we had a resilience and a recovery plan of 900 billion euros. The SURE program, 90 billion euros were invested in companies for temporary work, so we could keep people in work. Over 30 million small and medium enterprises were saved, 2 million, enterprises were saved, and 32 million employments were saved with this SURE program. Then the Recovery and Resilience Fund, which made sure that our economy could recover very quickly from COVID. Then came the despicable attack of Russia, unprovoked aggression on Ukraine. We had energy problems. Remember, in spring 2022, people said, will we be able to heat our houses in the next winter? Will we be able to make our factories turn? Yes, we did, because we came again together as European Union strong and developed the program Repower Europe. So I hope that citizens realize that this polycrisis, this global crisis, the situation we are in, national solutions are not the answer, but a strong European solution is the answer. And therefore we need parties which are on the center-left, working together with the Liberals, with the Greens, with EPP. I hope that most people in EPP prefer working with us than going with the far right, because there I think we are going in the wrong direction. And I always tell citizens, look what happens in countries where the far right is in the government. First of all, women's rights are under attack. Minority rights are under attack. Social rights are being taken away. They never vote in the European Parliament to enhance, for example, consumer rights or workers' rights. No, never. And people should know this, and we have to explain this to people. And then I hope that people will realize that we need a stronger Europe and not a divided Europe. And as I always say, I do not want that Mr. Putin opens a bottle of vodka on the 10th of June because the far right has won, those who he supports, those who he also finances. So they should not win, and the democratic forces in Europe must win and be strong and make a good policy, a social policy, but also economic policy. I'm a big fan of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And sustainable development is not only green development, it has 3 dimensions: economy, social, and environment. And we need to put this together and see it as a whole, and then I see a bright future for Europe.
Very good. And a last question about maybe the risks and opportunities. I know it's a European election, so let's focus on that. And if you want to conclude maybe on the possible impact for a country like Luxembourg.
The risks and opportunities. Well, the risk, citizens have recognized the risk. In all the polls for the last 2 years, the main worries of the citizens are social inequalities, the cost of living crisis, and the climate change. These are what, through all the polls, even in Luxembourg, the last poll which was made, these are the 2 most worries of, and therefore we have to make sure that the transition is socially and fair, and that people can profit from policies which are done to realize this dual transition, the climate transition and the digital transition, but also the small and medium enterprises profit from it, and not only the huge multinationals. So this is a challenge, a common challenge for the people and for the small and medium enterprises, that we have European funds to help the people on the social side, but also to help the small and medium enterprises, which need more support. And therefore, as I said in the beginning, also make the single market, use all the potential of the single market, try to reduce reporting. Yes, that's true. And we should not always think that regulation is something bad. It's also sometimes important to regulate and to give a direction to the economy where we want to go. For example, the Chips Act, to have more chips production in Europe, 40 billion euros put into there so that we bring chip production back from Asia also to Europe. These are things which I think if we give some guidelines also to the economy, to the market, this will profit. And I hope voters will realize this next Sunday. Let's see, wait and see. Let the voters speak.
It is a good conclusion, because indeed governance is a topic that we talk a lot about when we talk about EU. It is an opportunity for Luxembourg. We know that the quality of the regulation in Luxembourg is why so many financial companies choose our jurisdiction to grow. So let's hope indeed that things go well for Luxembourg in the coming years. And of course, the destiny of Luxembourg is very narrowly associated with the destiny of Europe.
You mentioned one thing which I want to hang on, regulation and directive, and that's why also in the letter report on the single market, he says that if we do new European legislation on the single market, don't have directives, because they have to be transposed by national countries, and then they add things and have it regulations, because then they are, as you say in French, d'application directe, they are immediately law, and that's much better. This will again avoid red tape, and I think this is what is important. We have this single market, use the full potential of it instead of having still barriers and geo-blocking. These are also subjects which are not only important for companies but also for people.
Perfect. Mr. Engel, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.